Every single day, at exactly 3:15 p.m., little Emma would run out the school gates with her oversized pink backpack bouncing behind her. And every single day, without fail, her father, Lucas, would be there, leaning against his dusty old red truck, holding a peanut butter sandwich and a smile just for her. Rain, snow, or blazing sun, he was always there. Always. So, when he wasn't there one Thursday afternoon, her teacher Mrs. Holloway noticed immediately. "Maybe he's stuck in traffic," she said gently, trying to mask the concern in her voice. But Emma shook her head with innocent certainty. "No. My daddy's never late. Not once." She waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then 20. No Lucas. That's when the cracks began to show, not just in Emma's calm but in everything. And the truth that unraveled that day would break hearts, and change lives forever. Lucas Bennett was a quiet man. The kind you'd pass by at the grocery store and not think twice about. He wasn't flashy, not loud, and definitely not the type to ask for help. But if you looked closely, you'd see the exhaustion behind his eyes. The way his shoulders drooped slightly from the weight of the world. He worked 3 jobs, 2 part-time and 1 under-the-table construction gig. Every dollar he made, he stretched like elastic just to keep food on the table and gas in the truck. But above all else, he never let his struggles touch Emma. She was his light, his reason, his entire universe. Since her mom had left when Emma was 2, Lucas had worn both hats, the protector and the nurturer, the disciplinarian and the storyteller. He didn't have much, but he made sure Emma never felt the absence of a childhood. Each morning before the sun rose, he packed her lunch with a handwritten note. Each evening, he read her stories in voices that made her giggle till her sides hurt. And every afternoon, he was there at 3:15, standing like a soldier at his post. So why wasn't he there that Thursday? Mrs. Holloway eventually took Emma back into the classroom as the school emptied. She gave her a juice box and dialed Lucas's number again. Straight to voicemail. Again. And again. Emma stared at the door, her small hands clutching the straps of her backpack tightly. "Something happened," she whispered. "I know it." And she was right. 32 miles away, on the outskirts of town, Lucas lay in a ditch beside his overturned truck, unconscious and bleeding. He'd taken a different route that day, one he normally avoided because the back roads were bumpy and narrow, but he had no choice. He was running on fumes, and the gas station near his usual route had raised prices again. He was trying to make it home to pick up Emma, and save those few precious dollars. The truck's tire had blown out, skidding him into a ravine. His phone had flown out the window and shattered. He was alone. Unreachable. Back at school, the hours dragged on. The janitor turned off hallway lights. The cafeteria staff packed up. The sky began to darken. Finally, Child Protective Services was called in. Emma cried quietly in the corner, still defending him. He must be hurt. He would never forget me. And as the night closed in, a sheriff's car pulled up. The officer inside was sweating and pale. "I need to speak with Mrs. Holloway." She stepped outside, and her face crumpled. She turned back toward Emma, trying to smile, but her lips trembled. "There's been an accident." Lucas woke up in a hospital bed the next morning, for in his arm, pain in every limb. He bolted upright the moment his mind cleared. "Emma. Where's Emma?" The nurse had to hold him down gently. "Your daughter is safe." But you were in no condition to call anyone. It's a miracle someone spotted your truck. He groaned, eyes watering. I was supposed to pick her up. Emma spent that night at a temporary foster care center, curled in a strange bed, clutching a pillow that smelled like detergent instead of home. She refused to sleep. She just stared at the wall, wide-eyed and worried. But by the next afternoon, the hospital had cleared Lucas to leave, despite his fractured ribs and bruises. He limped through the CPS doors, looking as broken as any man could be, but the moment Emma saw him, she screamed his name and launched into his arms. I knew you'd come, she sobbed. He held her tightly, his body trembling harder than hers. I'm so sorry, baby. I tried. I was trying to save gas, Anne. I'm so sorry. She pulled back and looked into his eyes. You don't have to be sorry. You didn't forget me. That's all I needed to know. The room went silent. A social worker who'd overheard stepped outside and wiped her eyes. The story could have ended there, but it didn't. Because the next day, something unexpected happened. Mrs. Holloway, who had been teaching for over 2 decades, wrote a Facebook post about Lucas and Emma, about how a father who had nothing still gave everything, and how love sometimes looks like peanut butter sandwiches and showing up every single day. The post went viral. Within hours, thousands of people shared the story. And then, a local news crew picked it up. A crowdfunding campaign started, not by Lucas, who hated charity, but by strangers who were moved beyond words. In less than a week, it raised over $270,000. Enough to pay off his hospital bills. Enough to get a reliable car. Enough to let him leave his 3rd job and actually sleep again. And most importantly, enough to breathe. Months later, Lucas still picked Emma up from school. Only now, he didn't arrive in a rusty truck. He arrived in a safe, clean SUV, still a few minutes early, still with a smile and her favorite sandwich in hand. But there was something new, too. He was starting night classes. Studying HVAC repair. He'd always wanted a steady trade job. Now he could chase that dream. And Emma? She started writing little thank you notes to people, tucking them in mailboxes, handing them to janitors, giving them to store clerks. Because Daddy says kindness changes everything, she would say. Even when the world isn't looking. And if you're watching this, wondering why this story matters, it's because there are Lucases everywhere. Struggling parents who never miss a moment, not because they have time, but because they make it. People who don't cry out for help until it's too late. And children like Emma, who notice, who believe, and who remind us that showing up every single day matters more than we think. So if you've ever felt unseen in your struggle, remember this: one day, the truth does come out. And when it does, it can change everything.